Hi all and welcome to the 3.21 Complete Heist Guide. This video has been recorded in parts and then edited together into one long video. So let's get into it. Endless Heist is dead. GGG have removed the books of regression so we can no longer de-level and level up in a cycle. Let's have a silent pause for the end of that era. However, the rest of Heist is untouched, so there's loads of currency to be collected, alt gems to be searched for, replicas to be had, and now enchanted weapons are going to be worth even more due to the Crucive passive tree on weapons, and then you're going to need twice as many because you're going to be searching for those passive trees and melding the weapons together in the Crucible as per the GGG trailer. In this video I'm going to go over some Heist strategies, Atlas passive trees for maps, some builds, I'll show some gameplay that is currently live on PoE at the moment, rogues and their gear, and different gear setups for different strategies. There are chapters below in the description for this long video to help you navigate through the things you want to look at. So the first thing I want to cover is, can Heist still be done before maps? Technically yes, and in fact I would suggest running some Heist before maps depending on how fast you want to get into maps and start self-farming the contracts and blueprints. The reason I say this is because you're still going to need to unlock the rogues, and it's a good idea to try and get most of the green contracts out of the way as soon as possible to try and unlock those unique contracts and start to try and get the twins to drop so you can start getting that unique that everyone still likes. With that in mind, don't go out of your way to find smugglers' caches whilst you're going through the acts. However, if you find one, I do suggest opening it, collecting those markers, getting that contract and quickly whisking off to the rogue harbour and do the green contract that will possibly drop and start unlocking your rogues. Depending on what you want to do, you can either stay in rogue harbour, generate rogue markers and unlock all your rogues, or you can just do that one contract and move on and level through the system and get into maps as quickly as possible. That is down to personal choice. On the subject of unlocking rogues, here is an information sheet that I put together for myself. You'll have access to a different one, but essentially it's the same information. So when you first enter the rogue, you'll get Cast, Tibbs and Isla, who's not on the list, but she's also free. So those three are the free. Isla doesn't unlock anyone, so she's just there. Cast, if you run the relevant type contract for the person at a contract level that will grant you XP, then you are guaranteed to unlock the next NPC in the list. This is a little bit to and fro. I have most of the time it doesn't matter, but sometimes if it's a low level contract that's not giving you XP, the next rogue doesn't turn up and you can be running multiple contracts, wasting your time and resources. The first one most people want to unlock is Gianna, so they can start farming the reduced blueprint reveals. So in order to do that, you're going to have to run Cast, which is lockpicking, into Huck. Now for Huck to unlock Niles, you just use his first skill on his job list or whichever contract you have that he can run, or if he's already got some XP, that one. It really doesn't matter. I've done loads of tests. It doesn't matter which skill he uses. As long as you're following this rule, it'll be fine. Huck should unlock Niles. Niles is counter thaumaturgy, so that'll unlock Vendiri. Vendiri is either demolition or traps, so you use one of those to unlock Gianna, and you've got Gianna. For Tibbs to unlock Tulina, it's just brute force and then Tulina and then into Nanette for that one. While we're talking about Tibbs, if you're going to be using Tibbs for demolition like I do rather than Vendiri, I get Tibbs, I spam roll his gear until he gets +1 all jobs, and I only use Tibbs because I prefer to unlock 2 chests after lockdown rather than the possible chance of getting a double drop with Vendiri, but that depends on your strategies, which I'll cover later on in the video. So that's the unlocks. I would suggest getting Tibbs to level 5 in brute force as quickly as possible to start unlocking those chests. Or you don't have to, it depends whether you're going to use him or not. So that's how you unlock the rogues. Coming up next is rogue gear. Before we get too much into rogue gear, I just want to mention that depending on the strategy you're running, it depends how you want to set up your gear. On screen right now is what I would call a standard base set of gear to roll, just to cover all of the strategies, so you can easily switch and change between whichever strategy you want to run, and this gear should sort you through all of that. Let's go through them. So I've listed here what types of damage each rogue do. So Cast does projectile damage, Tibbs does melee. This is for the purpose of the weapon or gear, so you can get whetstones, I think they're called, for Tibbs, that'll do increased melee damage. Arrowheads for Cast for projectile damage, and I think they're called charms, I think it is, for the spell damage. However, the rogues don't do a lot of damage, so increasing their damage is not really worth it, in my opinion. I would always go for precise arrowheads. You can see this on my rogue gear. I'll do a showcase of that later on in the video near the end. But the reason I go for precise arrowheads is because you can get increased flask charges, haste aura, and then something else. But you get increased flask charges gained, which will help you run all your flasks if you're not running a mage blood. And then you can also get that haste aura, which is going to give you more movement speed, attack and or cast speed, depending on what you're running on your character. For the specific tools, these are the ones you want to look for. So Master Lock Pick for Cast, Steel Braces for Tibbs, Silk Soul Weave for Talina, etc, etc. Bearing in mind, a common strategy is to get +1 to all jobs on Tibbs, so he can run demolition level 5s, and then +1 a level 3 item for Huck, but I level 85, or and run +1 jobs for Huck. So if you come across demolition and brute force, you have the option then of using Tibbs for the demolition level 5, and then you can use Huck for brute force level 4. If it's brute force level 5 and demolition level 5, you have no choice. You're going to have to run Vindiri and Tibbs. I haven't had one of those in a long time. Maybe one, possibly two in the thousands of blueprints I've run. But again, it does depend on what strategy you run, depends on what teams you run in the blueprints. So going on from that, never run Gianna in blueprints. She doesn't do anything at all. You're better off rolling +1 all jobs and getting Niles to do the job. He can then run the deception stuff. For brooch, which is a foliate brooch, it's level 5. The best brooch is I level 83 you'll be wanting for, and I suggest getting job speed for most of them. Don't get job speed for Tibbs, Gianna or Talina. The reason is with Talina, she has such a short window where job speed matters. It doesn't, so get increased lockdown. For Tibbs, the only time he needs job speed is when he's opening steel doors on a tunnel tile set, and they're few and far between anyway, and the job speed doesn't do that much for him on that. Unless you're running him, using him for demolition, you might want to get job speed for that. But again, it's your choice. I prefer getting increased lockdown so I can open even more chests. That comes down again to strategies. And then the other one you don't want job speed on is Gianna, because Gianna's abilities for deception are instantaneous and cannot be interrupted. If you're going to be using her for counter thaumaturgy and perception to do as many reveals as possible, you are going to want +1 all jobs, and you're going to need job speed as well. So the best foliate brooch to try and get hold of is Heist Chest Duplicate Basic Currency. job speed slash lockdown, and then rogue marker value. I would put rogue marker value over job speed and lockdown. Cloak, you can go for job speed or increase movement speed when not in lockdown, your choice. And then the suffix, chance to not generate alert, and reduce alert level when opening. If you're wanting to run grand heists, there is a very low chance of getting chance to not set off alarm in grand heists. I don't go for it because it is so rare. I would prefer the more generic ones of these because they still work in all contracts and blueprints. Tools, this is the specific rogue, so these ones here. For me personally, I want +1 all jobs for Tibbs, Niles, Huck and Cast, just because it's the way I run them. I use Cast as whenever I can, so I want the +1 all jobs. I prefer Cast over the other one, Talina, so you know, that's just me. Gianna, increase lockdown time at job speed, not job speed, sorry. And then for the suffix, chance to not generate alert and reduced feed, something to try and save those rogue markers. Arrowhead, as I mentioned earlier, job speed or lockdown, flask charges and reduce something, or go for an aura. Grace can be rolled or haste. There are 3 levels. You can get level 5, level 10 and level 15 auras. Obviously you want the level 15 if you can get it, but again that just depends on how much currency you want to throw into this gear. So that's the rogue gear. Next I'll be talking about strategies and then different gear for all those different strategies. Heist strategies. Nothing really has changed since 3.20 other than the fact that we have lost endless heist. So the main ones really are for contracts. We'll do contracts first. For contracts you got 4 choices. You can run in, go straight for the end reward, the artifact, and run out. That is called rogue marker farming. You are only interested in the rogue markers at the end. It is one of the quickest contract strategies there is, and the 2 best contracts to run in my opinion are deception and agility. Deception because you've got no doors on the way out, and agility because you've only got those lasers, which is fizz, mainly fizz damage, and I think it's got a little bit of fire in there as well. I only know this because my high level heist runner is a Jugg and it takes practically no damage, and that's got high fire max resistance and a ton of fizz resistance because of the armor, whereas if I run it on the evasion character on screen now, I take so much damage. Again, that's just tinfoil hat. I've got nothing to back it up. You could probably do some research and maybe someone's noted down exactly what damage those beams do, but anyway, agility and deception in my opinion are the best for farming rogue markers because essentially there is nothing stopping you just hitting a tailored quicksilver flask and just zooming straight out and ignoring everything. Phasing / phase run with a quicksilver, a very nicely rolled high in duration quicksilver flask, and you're done, you're out. The second one is reveal farming. This is where you want Gianna, preferably at level 5 in her main deception skill, with +1 all jobs on her rogue gear, and you're running deception, perception and counter thaumaturgic contracts. And it's still like the previous one, where essentially you are farming rogue markers, so you're running to the end, getting the reward and running out again. And then you're not only are you farming rogue markers, you're also farming reveals with Gianna, so you can get the reduced reveals on blueprints for yourself, or you can sell them via TFT. The third one is large chest opening. So in the contracts, you run in, you see what rewards are on the large chests, and you open the large chests only, and then you hit the artifact at the end and you run out, you ignore the little chests. And the final strategy, which is the one I like doing, where you open as much as possible. So your rogue gear and your rogues and the contracts you're running are set up in such a way that you open the large chests, and then you open as many small chests as you can without setting off the alarm. You run to the end, you open the door to the artifact, you click it once so the glass is cracked. You then go back and judging how much time you have on your lockdown timer, you open as many chests as you can before lockdown occurs, and then you run to the artifact, grab the artifact and run out. And then if you're using Tibbs, or I want to say Niles, I think here's the other one, you unlock 1/2 chests on the way out. So you are maximizing your rewards in every way possible before you leave the contract. Now it does take longer for these contracts to run because you are going a little bit backtracking, and you're spending a few seconds at the beginning of the contract figuring out which large chests, if any, you want to open. It's also can be the most self-profitable because you'll get all of the currency and the drops from those chests. You also tend to kill a lot more mobs, so you're getting the rogue gear drop in mass amounts. The other three strategies that I've mentioned so far, you're not killing any mobs really, not as many mobs, so the chances of you getting the rogue gear from drops is very slim, and you'd have to trade for them, which can be expensive. On to blueprints. Blueprints follow the same as the contracts. You either run into the blueprint, grab the end reward and run out, ignoring everything else. You're going for the large chests, which require you to reveal wings, or you just go for the large chests with the wings that I've already revealed. And then the final one is the one I do, which is you open as much as possible and you set up your rogue teams in that manner. So at that point the gear investment for the rogues becomes a lot more, because you're going to want +1 on all jobs on multiple rogues, so you can use them to do jobs that they're not really designed to do. For instance, your +1 all jobs on Tibbs, so he can run the demolition. Blueprints, +1 all jobs on Huck, so if you get a demolition brute force, you can take Huck in, so you haven't got Vindiri with you, which lessens the number of chests you can open. You're generally running, I think, is it cast? Is it cast? Yeah, you're either running cast for the 40% less raising of level, or you are running Tolina, which is the carte blanche 14% less raising of alert level. So your main team, as much as possible, would include Tibbs, Niles, Cast or Tolina as your three main rogues for opening all of the chests. It's a strategy. I love that strategy. The gear investment of it though is very high, because you want gear like that. Job speed was the Regal. I didn't have much choice on that one, but it's got +1 all jobs, and it's got chance not to generate alert level, although it's a low tier role. That is as good as you're going to get without severe currency investment to get the perfect item. So that's those. There is one other. All of these are normal builds, so any build really could run these strategies. There's another strategy that I don't cover because I don't like it. A lot of people do. It is a zDPS or a no damage build, where you build a character that can run extremely fast. The skills are defensive and crowd control only, and it is a end reward strat where you run in, you go to the end reward and run out. The reason I don't like it is because you're not getting any XP from the blueprints, which means your gems aren't leveling up. So this is a kind of, you have to have a level 90 plus character already, and then you have to have max level gems before you can run this strategy. So it's a high gear investment. Usually you have a mage blood, not all the time. It's either that or another belt for life, so if you do get hit then you're not going to die. But it's so specific and so high on the investment, and then you get a blueprint done in about 30 seconds. You are spending so much currency on the blueprints, you're not always going to make profit. Because you're only opening the end reward. You literally run in, grab the end reward, run out, and it's done. And all of these zDPS characters are on 600 plus movement speed. I don't like it. I don't cover it. You will not find any build suggestions, and this is the only time I'll mention it in this video. So if you're looking for a zDPS strategy build, don't come to my channel because I don't cover it. That's all the strategies that I'm aware of. There are a few more niche ones with party play or dual character setups that you can do. I am a solo player, so I can't advise you on those. Let's move on to suggestive gear and rogue setups for the various strategies I have mentioned. Welcome to the section of this video where we're going to be talking about rogue gear in reference to the certain strategies we've covered previously in this video. Additionally, we're going to be going over rogues and which rogue to use in which strat, and teams for rogues in blueprints, and the way I like to run my strategy and my suggested way of running the teams in blueprints, which makes it vastly more profitable than you might think. I do have several documents open on my toolbar that I'm going to be referenced to, so excuse me if I pause while I get the right document up on screen so I can show you what I'm talking about. So first of all, let's go through contract strategies that I mentioned earlier. If you're aiming for the large chests, it really doesn't matter which rogue you pick. If you're only interested in what the large chests contain, then you just pick the contract you want based on the reward types. Depending what you're farming, I would suggest staying away from engineering, because maps seems like a good idea. It really isn't. Uniques aren't that great. It's usually the most common ones, and essences, you don't get the high tier essences. If you want essences, you're better off farming tier 1 maps with as much essences as you possibly can get on the Atlas passive tree. I personally would also avoid trap disarmament, because most of the time you'll end up with armor, weapons, talismans and abyss without all their bonuses. Breach could be good. It depends on how they've changed it within Heist. We won't know until we start running them and seeing the stats, but it doesn't make it good, because more often than not you'll get one of the 4 lowest ones. Very rarely do you get Legion, even though it's on the same level as Breach. This is the eye level of the contract, so the higher the eye level you can see what opens where. So in my opinion, you would avoid trap disarmament and engineering for large chests. Pretty much everything else is open game, depends on how quickly you want to get in there and out. Probably avoid brute force as well. The weapons aren't that great, although with Crucible having the passive tree, you could be farming the weapons from brute force and find a decent one that could be worth several divines. Until we get some idea of how Crucible working in the first weekend, we won't know if it's worth running brute force for the weapon drops. Of course, you could get fossils, but not the higher level ones. You do get pristine fossils. I got the quality ones as well. Bound fossils, shuddering fossils are in there, but the highest level ones aren't. So Mainly probably be looking at lockpicking for the chance to get currency and the fragments. Perception is always good for the currency and divination cards. Of course, deception for the divination cards and the harbinger currency, and maybe agility. Deception and agility are usually the two most expensive because you can run out for free. Deception has no doors on the way out. Agility has the beam. I'm fairly certain it's mostly fizz damage. So if you're stacking armor or fizz convert, or you've got a caster and damage taken guard skill, it should be fine, and you just run through. May have to hit a healing pot. It should be okay. So that's for large chest farming. For rogue marker farming, it doesn't matter. Get whatever contract is cheapest, pick them up, scour them, run them with whichever rogue you have that can do it, run in there, grab the artifact at the end and run out. If that is your strategy of farming rogue markers, then I suggest what you want on your gear, specifically on your brooch, is rogue marker value, which is a suffix, and you just spam every single brooch until you get rogue marker value. I think the highest is 20%, until you get that on your brooch. I think I've got it recorded. 25% rogue marker value. So you can find that on iLevel 83 brooches, and you just spam that, and once you've got it on every single rogue, it doesn't matter what contract you're running, you pick up whichever's cheapest on bulk buy or farm them yourself on your mapless passive tree, and yeah, you're good. It doesn't matter. And the last one is reveal farming. This is by far the most expensive because you need to run those contracts that Gianna can do. Additionally, you are going to want gear for her that's got +1 all jobs, so it opens up more contracts that she can do. Deception, of course, she's level 5. You get the +1 all jobs, she's running level 4 counter thorn and level 3 perceptions. And you're just running in there, running to the end, grabbing the rogue marker value and running out on those 3 specific contracts. Deception is easy because you've got no doors. Counter thaumaturgy, depending on your health pool, can be okay because you can just run over the floor tiles if you're speedy and or health enough. And perception can be a bit difficult to get in. Again, it depends on your speed. If you're fast enough and know the layout of the contract, you can just run through the areas where all the perception towers are. You won't use any alert. That's reveal farming. The fourth one, which is the one I like doing, and it is literally opening every single chest or as many chests as you can, at which point you want to set up gear similar to what that I have equipped on my standard characters, which is chance of no alert and reduced alert on cloak, 2 suffixes, on your tool, 2 suffixes, yeah, and then you want job speed all over the place for certain rogues. You can see where it's not needed. Tibbs, Tulina, Gianna isn't needed on job speed at all. And if they don't need job speed, you go for increased lockdown on a prefix, and then where you can see where I go, job speed, if not job speed, increased lockdown, rogue marker value, chance of duping basic currency, job speed, increased lockdown, no alert, reduced alert, blah blah blah. It's all there for you. So that's the way I do my contracts and my blueprints. With blueprint farming strats, they're pretty much the same. The end reward, you're farming as quickly as possible, get there, pick it up, run out. Large chests and all the chests. Depending on your strategy, depending on what your team. If all you're interested in is the end reward, then all you need to worry about is making sure you get all the relevant rogues to level 5 as quickly as possible. You'll need to run Vindiri twice because he's got level 5 trap disarmament and demolition. Alternatively, you might want to make it a bit easier on yourself and try and get a +1 all jobs for Isla so she can run trap disarmament. So if you end up with demolition and trap disarmament, you can run Vindiri and Isla, or alternatively get +1 all jobs on Tibbs so he can run demolition, and then Vindiri can run trap disarmament, or Isla can run trap disarmament. It depends how much you want to roll your gear. For all of the chests, you are looking at reduced alert level and chance to not generate alert level, and then you really need to decide how you want to put your teams. If you're going for this strategy, then what you need to do is look over here, and this gives you all the perks. If you want to use Vindiri for his chance to duplicate, then what you're going to need to do is roll 2 sets of gear for Vindiri. Now Vindiri has demolition and trap disarmament at level 5 as standard, so you'll need to run a thaumatic flash powder to get the chance to not generate alert level on opening a chest using demolition, and then you'll need to get the lock keys for his trap disarmament skill and roll it exactly the same. That combined with Cast, who's got a 40% chance of raising alert level for opening reward chests, that's the large chests, and then Tulina, which has got a generic 14% less raising of alert level. This is all based on the fact that all your rogues are level 5 and have maxed out all their skills. So if you end up with Cast, Tulina and Vindiri all really geared well, you could probably open up most of the chests, get lots of doubling without actually the alert bar filling up that much. It just depends on what you want to do. Me personally, I very rarely run Vindiri. I go out of my way to not run Vindiri, to the point where I've got Tibbs with a +1 all jobs and Isla with a +1 all jobs. I don't take Vindiri. The chance for him to double is very low. I'd rather have Tibbs. In fact, my favourite team up is having Tibbs, Niles and Cast. That's my favourite team up. Why? Well, Tibbs covers level 5 brute force and demolition with +1 all. Niles can cover level 5 deception, level 5 counter thaumaturgy, and I think he's got another one if I can find him. Or is it just a 2? Come on, Niles, where are you? Maybe it's just those 2. Okay, just those 2. I can't see him anywhere else. Maybe he's just got the 2 jobs. Let's have a quick look in game. Apologies, there's so many different rogues. No, it's just the 2. So you can run level 5 counter thaumaturgy and deception. As you can see here, that's what I've got for him. It's classed as level 6 counter thaumaturgy, so it does it a bit quicker. So with him opening 1 chest after lockdown, Tibbs opening 2 chests after lockdown, and Cast with his 40% large chest, or Talina with her 14% less across the board, that's my favourite team up. You end up opening so many chests, plus the end reward in blueprints, and voila. What I will say is, if you are running any sort of blueprint strategy, unless it's just running in for the end reward and running out, never take Gianna into blueprints. If all you want to do is get the end reward, go for it, that's fine. If you want to do any other blueprint strategy, you will need a +1 all jobs for Niles, so he can run deception. Gianna is absolutely pointless in a blueprint, whereas Niles gets to run the deception contracts with +1, and he can open a chest after lockdown if that's something you're interested in. Who can say no to practically free loot? What I will say is the gear I've mentioned and showcased today on my spreadsheet, it's really hard to roll. You're either going to have to spend multiple divines buying it from someone who's already rolled it, or you're going to have to roll it yourself, and that comes at the cost of literally thousands of alterations, augmentations and regals and nulls, etc. If you go on to Craft of Exile, it does have a heist section, so you can see what you want, what rolls are, and the percentage chance of you getting them. It's low, I'll say that now. You want the tools to be level 83, the brooches to be level 83, cloaks and arrowheads at level 82. They're the minimum my levels you need for the rolls I have suggested here. The suffixes on the arrowhead is wrong. It's actually increased flask charges gained and haste aura or an aura. The auras, as mentioned earlier, can come in 3 levels, 5, 10 and 15. So that's the thing. I think I've covered pretty much everything there. The suggested teams. This document will be available on my heist guide document below, so there's a link to this one. The spreadsheet I've been whizzing on and off is my personal spreadsheet that won't be available. However, this has got all the information on there with suggested things down here, so you can use that, or alternatively you can just whisk back over the video and see what I've done and take notes for yourself. That's a section on groups and gearing for the various strategies we've covered. Coming up next is the next section. With the Atlas passive tree being updated on PoE Planner for 3.21, I've come up with 3 Atlas passive trees for use in running Heist for self-farming, or for those that want to run Heist on their Atlas passives and then sell the things to us Heisters. Endless Heist is now dead, so most of the running for Heist will be done after you've hit maps. The first Atlas passive tree I've come up with is an Alva Heist tree, because we run through a lot of the Alva nodes for speed to get to the Heist. So my suggestion is to come straight up through here, grabbing Alva, coming up here, grabbing this Heist node, over to Huck node, then do the blocks here, then take the gateway over here to get this, come down here and block all of these. That way we're blocking everything except for Heist, which essentially gives us even more chance to get Heist. Once you've done that, you can then move on and then come up here for more Heist, through the Alva nodes, into the Smuggler's Cash chance, down for the level 5, because the higher the level job required, the more rogue markers you get from the artifact, and then into the high value precious targets. We're then coming up and around up here for the blueprints and chance for it to be fully revealed. I have had this proc several times. It is a low chance, but when it does, sure, so good. And then up here for the chance, mainly for that 5% chance to get 6 additional Smuggler's Caches. With Heist being on the map device as well, that's an additional 2. So there's a chance to get 6 plus the 2 from there, plus the guaranteed one, so that's 9 caches minimum. After that, the suggestion is to take this node here, come across and go up here, come up through these to get the contract quant, and down for the agility, deception and engineering. The reason we go for agility, deception and engineering is because deception, farming Gianna reveals, agility because it's the second fastest contract to run, and we get lumbered with engineering. With Endless Heist being gone, I would suggest just running the engineering contracts just to run to the end, grabbing the artifact and running out, and not bothering with the chests. Of course, that is your personal opinion, depending on what strategy you want. I doubt anyone will be wanting to buy engineering contracts, so it's either you run them yourself or you just leave them on the floor. Once you've got some more mapping done, you can then, if you want to run the Alva, come through these nodes, 1, 2, 3, refund this point, and then you can fill out this Alva node, this Alva node, this Alva node, so you're then running Heist and Alva. At that point, I would possibly take Stream of Consciousness, because you know you're not running Scarabs, you can sell any Scarabs you find. Also, because you're so close, you could pick up Trial of Glory. The actual offerings you get from these might be able to be sold early on in the league for those people that want their lab. Additionally, if you do get a chance to get the improved offering of the Goddess and you get the right one, they will sell for a small fortune to the lab runners. So also, once you get enough of them, you can bulk sell the offerings for normal lab to the lab farmers, so they can go through the normal lab if they can't afford the improved lab, or the improved lab ones aren't running. Not very many people run these nodes. It's only like 5 points, so it's a suggested tree, your choice whether you use it or not. So that's the Alva Heist one. Let me grab the other one I came up with as soon as I find it in all of these. Is it this one? Yes. The other one is one I ran last league, which is an Alva Einhar tree. So this time we come straight up, we grab the heist, we block, we come down here, we block again, we come up for stream of consciousness, we actually travel through the lab nodes because it's the cheapest option, so you might as well just get the other two, again for the same reasons as the Alva Heist one. Coming up here for the same heist nodes, and again up here for the heist, down for the travel, down, and taking the same heist nodes here. Because at this point we are then so close, we can pick up Einhar as a follower effectively, and then fill out this tree, and then fill out the other beast trees as well, so you get great migration, and then you can come through here and get natural selection. If you want to go into these nodes, you can. I don't know what the difference is. I've not really farmed beasts. I've only done it once. It was great fun. I made so much currency. I ended up taking this full wheel. I did effectively I did that. Just because I had the points and I wasn't sure what else to do, so I ended up doing this. I don't know if it made any difference or not, but it was fun. I sold a ton of yellow beasts and red beasts. I made a ton of currency and I really enjoyed myself. With the changes to the menagerie being able to take beasts out of the menagerie for free, I think you're still going to need to box them up in the one chaos orb token you get from Einhar in the menagerie to then trade them, so you might have to do some fiddling. But that's the Einhar heist tree. I'll put the links for these trees in the description below. Let me just click off those because that is going to be up to you what you do. There we go. And then the final one is the one that I'm going to be running. Is it this one? Let me just check. I want to get the right one on. Yeah. And I'm not that settled on it, but it's I whipped this up in like 5 minutes. This is more of an end game because we're 127 out of 132. So I've come up here. I've got strong boxes. I've got heist. I've got lots of heist. I'm doing delirium. So again, I've blocked all this lot. I always take shaping of the mountains, shaping of the skies, shaping of the seas, and I will be running shaping the valleys because the picks on the map device are all really good, and I'd rather spend the 3 chaos and get whatever I get given than spending specific amounts for specific rewards. I come down here for this one because I love leveling up and I don't like dying. I take stream consciousness because I'm a hoarder. I take the lab nodes for the aforementioned reason. I love Harbinger, so I've got some Harby nodes on here. I love strong boxes, so I was taking those as well. We've got the heist nodes, and then this is all delirium stuff. Everywhere is delirium, and then down here for heist. This is the tree I'll be running. I will also pop this down in the description for those that you want to copy this as well. This one isn't fleshed out and it may change, but I will be doing updates throughout the league on how I'm getting on with my builds and my Atlas passive tree. So that's the 3 Atlas passives, of course. I hope they will help you, and we'll move on to the next section. This is the build section of the guide now. Now, with Endless Heist being removed, we are no longer restricted to level 67 or whatever level you did Endless Heist, and therefore it really does open up the class ascendancies and builds we can use to heist. Now, I would still suggest just heading straight into maps, getting into maps and then doing all your heist there. However, if you want to stop off in the campaign and do a little bit of heist, once you've found a smuggler's cache, drop into heist and do some leveling, get some early currency, level your rogues and possibly get some low level gear for your rogues, then that is your personal choice. Moving on from that, I have done a document with some suggested builds. Now, none of these builds could have been tested in 3.21. I know some content creators have tried to simulate the changes in 3.21, but ultimately we are not going to know how they are going to feel to play until the patch notes go live this coming end of the week. So with that in mind, also with the POBs, some of them I'm waiting on other content creators to do their POB. I'll then appropriate it and amend it for Heist and get those out in a video, hopefully before League launch. For now, let's get the document over. There we go. So Jugg Righteous Fire, based on Pox's Jugg Righteous Fire. I know Pox is already working on updating his build guide for Jugg. That's also the character on the screen, and it's also the character that has been featured in my PoE weekly updates. If you want to see some 3.20 gameplay, head on over to my YouTube channel, check out my weekly PoE updates, and you'll see me going through the Jugg RF there. Occultist Death Oath plus Vile Caustic Arrow. It's a great build. You are restricted on getting a Death's Oath armor and then finding the strength requirements to wear the armor as an occultist. But once you've got that on and you set it up, it's going to be fantastic. Death's Oath will kill most of the things, and then you've got the Vile Caustic Arrow or the normal Caustic Arrow just to take down any surviving rares, magic creatures, etc. Rated Toxic Rain Caustic Arrow, almost the BIS endless heist build. It's still great, it's still easy, you can do it from stuff picked up off the floor. I've done a POB for it already, but I want to go over some more details and see if there's some changes I can make, and that'll be coming with the rest of them. Elementalist Golomancer. I did do this a couple of leagues ago. You might be able to dig through and find it on my channel. It was absolutely amazing on level 67. It'll be even better at higher levels. The only problem is you do need 3 primordial jewels, and they only drop from Delve, so you might not be able to league start with the Elementalist Golomancer. You might have to do an Elementalist something and then go into being a Golomancer once you can get the jewels and then the Anima Stone. Raider Blade Vortex. I tested this out at level 67. It was absolutely abysmal. However, with the higher levels, it should be amazing. Chronic Painless, in my opinion, is the BV King. I'm waiting for him to do his Occultist version POB. Once he's done that, I'll appropriate the POB, make it into Raider and get it done. Zizaran has just recently put out a Pathfinder Toxic Rain build as well. That looks amazing. Again, I'm going to wait and appropriate the POB from him once he's done his, and I'll have all the POBs in one video / document, which I'll post up as soon as it's ready. Because of the higher levels we are able to do Heist at now, pretty much any build will be able to do Heist. I would suggest those suggestions, or Totem Ballista builds will be able to do it, because once you get to the doors on your way in, you'll have a bunch of mobs behind the door. You can drop your totems and ballistas and it'll just kill everything. Any Totem Ballista build works really well in Heist because you're just running and laying in your totems as you run. The totem should be able to kill everything as you run through. Aside from those suggestions, if we scroll down, pretty much any build with enough tank to take the hits and speed, they are the 2 biggest things. You don't want to be dying in Heist because you'll lose whatever you've picked up, and you want to get through it as quickly as possible to get that currency per hour up. With that in mind, this is one of the best 3/4 link you can get. You are going to need a high dex rating for the level 20 phase run. So it's phase run, increased duration, efficacy, because efficacy gives increased skill duration. That's the 3 link. If you're worried about mana, whack on a level 1 life tap, and that's a 4 link, and you're done. As for your Quicksilver Flask, you're definitely going to want movement speed on your Quicksilver, and then either reduced charges, increased duration with reduced duration with increased effect, increased duration, or what's the other one? Increased charges, reduced charges, something like that as a prefix, and then get the highest movement speed modifier as the suffix. I would also then suggest bench crafting, reused at flask end. That way, when you're running out of the heist, you won't have to worry about it. It's one extra flask you don't have to worry about. You just hit it and run. The reason I suggest this one is because if you get stuck by a door on your way out, you can kill mobs which will refresh your flask charges. There is another way of doing it by using an enkindling orb to get up to 100% increased duration. However, that means you can't gain any charges. So if you're running deception or agility contracts, fine, get the best quicksilver you can, whack on your enkindling orbs to get the increased duration, no flask charges, and you're away. If you're deciding to go with a heist / harvest passive tree, you can use harvest craft to benchcraft your one of the flask effects, but it will run down at 800 harvest juice per craft. That's going to be quite expensive over the long period of the gameplay. Excuse me. Boots, you want a minimum of 30% movement speed boots unless your build is using a specific pair of unique boots. Anything less than 25% is a bit of a no-no really. So 30% MS boots, plus if you're lucky enough to get enchant movement speed when not hit, that's also a bonus. Movement speed on the passive tree if you're down that way, or you can grab them using unique jewels. And then of course you have our staple, the Raider Ascendancy, with its onslaught effect and its perma phasing. In my opinion, still one of the best ascendancies for heist. Pathfinder is very close behind it with all the flask charge effects, etc. So in my opinion, one of those two ascendancies would be pretty good. You might have to play around trying to get the additional tanks so you don't die. If you want my absolute honest personal opinion, there is really nothing better than the Jugg RF. The way I've built mine on the screen, you can't be crit, you have the speed, you have the tank, you don't die. It's that simple. You just do not die. I have not died in any of the heist runs at all. No blueprints, no contracts. Unlike the other classes I've tried, the Death's Oath, the Raider, the Trickster, some of them come close to dying if they take a big hit, but with the Brass Dome equipped, you're not taking crit hits, and Brass Dome doesn't have life, which means you can use a life mastery of plus 15% maximum life. It's in my opinion, if you're looking for tank and speed, Jugg RF is the way to go. It could be very popular, so some of the things you're going to need to build it could be quite expensive. Wait for Pox's guide to come out. I'll amend it for heist and get it out, but in my opinion, this will be the way to go. The other reason for going Jugg RF is because it can do mapping, and at the moment it's only a gem swap. You swap out do a couple of gem swaps and you're from heist to maps. It is very simple to do, probably the most easiest way to get through 3.21. You've got a weapon and a shield, so you can get your passive trees done. All the others have their slight weaknesses depending on how you build it. You lose a bit of tank on the Raider, you lose a lot of speed on the Occultist and the Elementalist. Raider BV can be quite janky because you need to keep your BV up. Pathfinder I haven't played because I always went Poison Concoction with Pathfinder, and that is a dead skill because of the changes they've made. Baylor Mage has covered a way to get around this in a recent video. I'll try and find it. In this final section of video, I'm going to just do a contract with my Jugg RF character. I'm not going to go through the gear or the passive skill tree on this character because as of 3.21 going live, it will all change. So let's just grab a contract, which I've already got in my inventory. This is an I level 3 83 lockpicking. Unfortunately, I don't have any deception contracts left to run. I've already run those. So we're just going to go around and pop in our contract. There we go. So Due to the amount of different strategies that is possible to run, I'm going to run my strategy, which is opening as many chests as I can. So the first thing I do is just clear the beginning area of any mobs. There we go. I'll just upgrade that. And then I'm going to use my cursors on the thing to see what chests there are. We've unluckily got 3 jewellery chests. Now they are completely pointless to open up, so we're just going to go with the little chests. I'm using phase run because why would you not? It's movement speed plus the ability to go through mobs. This is a very specific filter I'm running. We are in standard, so my filter is set to what I want for that league. And gee whiz, that was a lot of damage. That doesn't usually happen. Sometimes there are things. See, if I was on any other build, as suggested in the previous section of build guides, that character would have died right there and then. I think that was an on death effect, which are completely imbalanced anyway. We've got a frost blink, hex touch, life tap, flammability setup, which is this button here. You can see what I do is I just frost blink through the mobs, apply flammability, and then they usually die. You'd probably do this a lot faster, and if I was running Heist in League, I'd also do it a lot faster. My strategy would probably be big chests and rogue markers as quickly as possible, rather than opening everything, until later in the League anyway, when it's not so much of an issue. At that point I'll be doing Heist more for currency and fun more than to sell stuff. So what you could have done here is spotted the 3 jewellery chests, realised you didn't want them, and just run through, grab the rogue marker artifact at the end, and then you'd be done. Okay, and now we just phase run. I don't use my Quicksilver until I'm quite certain there are no other doors to unlock. So we are taking a bit of damage, but that is the unique mob. So right at this point we'll activate our Quicksilver and then we just run. As you can see, there's a lot of things dying behind me. Oh, that's fine. We've got an equipped fire trap here as well for the larger mobs in case they don't die while we're waiting for doors to open. But invariably we just frost blink through and then phase run. So there you go. That is the open as many chests as you can Jugg RF gameplay. Oh, we've got incubator on the devotees. There we go. If you wanted to see what I've done with this character for 3.20, you're more than welcome to go onto my profile and grab the POB from there. However, please note that this is a 3.20 setup. The gear and passive tree will radically change. I've also got an empty socket for various reasons I'm not going to go into. If you look at my offhand weapons, they are just leveling up gems for my gem collection. So pay no attention to the gems or the bow and quiver in my offhands. Hope you've enjoyed this section. Let's move on to the outro. And that's the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed the video and it contains all the relevant information that you were looking for. Moving forward, I will be doing the POB video where I will go through the POBs I've correlated as per the build section just previously, and that will be out in the next few days as soon as the POBs are ready and fleshed out for 3.21. Unlike my other POBs, they will not contain a complete leveling section in the notes. They will just be leveling trees, or the notes that are provided by the content creator who created the guide, such as Zizarin's Pathfinder and Pox's RF characters. And that's it. Good luck in 3.21. Keep an eye out. I will be doing a few more videos before League launch, including my own League start plans. Have fun, stay safe,